Hello, my astrology friends. This is your astrological forecast for July 2025. Before I get started, just to let you know, please become a subscriber and do like the video. All helps to spread the word of astrology. In this video, I'm going to be looking at the planets, the zodiac signs, the aspects that are going to be dominating the skies in July from a collective basis. And then I'm going to be looking at each individual sun sign and rising sign for July 2025. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so what can we expect in July astrologically this month coming up? It's a busy one, and we've had a very, very busy June where lots happened in the world, and a lot of astrological planets have been changing, sun signs. And of course, the big one for July is Uranus ingressing into Gemini for the first time in 84 years. I've done a separate video on this called The Great Awakener to check out. And this is such a significant event. Since 2018, Uranus has been in Taurus. It briefly went back in the second half of 2018 into Aries before going in 2019 back into Taurus, where it's remained. And Uranus and Taurus is not particularly comfortable at all, and therefore it's been a very, very difficult 6.5 years that we've experienced. And in that time, we've had COVID, we've had wars, we've had political and economic instability in the Western world, in modern astrology, Uranus is in its fall in Taurus, and the sun sign of Taurus, of course, is Earth and its fixed sign. It cannot function properly. So it's been a very, very difficult time. Now, Uranus going into Gemini on the 7th of July is going to change things up because Gemini is a mutable air sign, and Uranus feels a bit more comfortable with it, although there is a duality about Gemini that Uranus is going to have to confront and work through. But also it's the way that we communicate is going to speed up. So, the use of technology and how we communicate and how we do business and work is going to increase over this next 7-year cycle that we're going to experience. The aspect of duality is a big one with Gemini, and it's Uranus is a planet of extremes. And if we look at the polarity point of Gemini, the opposite sign is Sagittarius. This is all about information and knowledge and how we spread information to other people. And Gemini and Sagittarius on the polarity point tends to be quite similar in their attitudes. One's an air sign, one's a fire sign, but are both, of course, mutable in quality, which means changeable in energy that is constantly shifting with this vibration. And with Uranus, there has to be an extreme and there has to be a sense of liberation. So what is the liberation that Uranus gets from Gemini? It is liberating ourselves from the way that we communicate. Now, over the last few years, there has been a great sense of a momentum that's been building up regarding how we communicate with each other and how people are received from that or respond to that different types of communication. And what I suppose I'm getting at is the whole aspect of not wanting to offend or being very conscious of language and how powerful language is. Now, Uranus does not want to engage in that. It wants to liberate from any kind of restraints and restrictions. And remember that Gemini is ruled by Mercury as well, which is the higher octave. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So this is about liberation in the way that we communicate. So if there's any restriction in the way that we communicate, then Uranus is going to rebel against that and cause disruption and chaos and problems. Bear in mind, this is over the next sort of 7-year cycle that Uranus is transiting through Gemini. So you can imagine that political or governmental restrictions on how we communicate and what we say, talking about free speech, under Uranus going in Gemini, it's definitely going to be starting to be challenged a lot more, and how we communicate. And also people in what we'd say the public eye, and how they communicate to other people as well. So there's a real kind of drive and a sense of communication, a sense of knowledge being disrupted and challenged an awful lot. And that brings about huge amounts of changes in the way that we work, the way that we communicate on an everyday basis. So that's a huge shift that's coming forward for us. And you know, I think that this is, when you're getting out to planet changing zodiac signs, the first thing that happens is everyone starts to try and get used to it and sort of, oh, how do I feel about this? And you know, early degree Geminis, people are born on the 20th, 21st May, 22nd, are going to be affected a lot by this shift in energy, because Uranus can suddenly move a lot faster. And we've had some big changes going on. We've also got this sort of ongoing conjunction between Neptune and Saturn in Aries. That doesn't take place often. And you know, this is about the boundaries and the traditions and the structures, and Neptune is about transcending what's beyond. And there is a difficulty with that combination if we're looking at the traditional and we're looking at sense of escapism or a sense of a better vision of the future. Then these two are in conflict in Aries as well, and that's really kind of challenging in itself. We've also got Jupiter squaring Saturn, and in July, you know, Jupiter is faster than Saturn is moving away from that. But still, you know, that's from a societal point of view, that means sweeping changes that are taking place that are going to have quite an impact on all of us, you know, over the next kind of 12-year cycle. So again, you know, and this is all in cardinal signs happening. So again, cardinal signs are things happening really fast and moving quickly in a way that is hard to actually keep up. So again, that significance of these aspects are really kind of bringing out totally different energies. And then I bring in the whole thing about Pluto in Aquarius, settling into Aquarius as well. We're still getting used to that. So this is a huge, momentous year, 2025, where a lot of changes that are taking place that are going to set the tone and plant the seeds for the future. But I have to say that Uranus and Gemini, at least Uranus can breathe, at least it can move, at least it can circulate, and at least it can do things without it being stopped by this Taurian energy that it has been over the last 6.5 years. So as we kind of move through the month, we see different changes starting to take place. So just before the 7th, we've got on the 4th of July, immediately we've got Venus enters Gemini, accentuating that Geminian energy. And Neptune, for the first time since it's ingressed into Aries, is going retrograde. And that's quite significant for us all, because as it goes retrograde, it will finally go back into Pisces. So sorry for you Pisces, you're going to have a little visit of Neptune that's going to come in. And then, as I said, on the 7th, around about 8:47 UK time in the morning, Uranus enters into Gemini. Significant day in terms of a key date. Look out for things happening, or just seeds of change happening around that particular time. Very, very significant. On the 10th, we've got a full moon at 18 degrees in Capricorn. I'm not too concerned about that, although the moon in Capricorn is never a comfortable position to be in. And it just accentuates and magnifies any work issues that we've all got or needed to get through, particularly if you've got Capricorn or Cancer heavy in your chart. But as I said, I'm not too concerned about that. On the 13th, Saturn goes retrograde, again in Aries. We've got Neptune in Aries going retrograde. We've got Saturn now going retrograde. So that's pulling away from the square aspect with Jupiter in Cancer. So again, we've drawn the energy that's taking place at that particular time. And the next major kind of aspect is going to be on the 24th of July, where we have a new moon at 2 degrees in Leo. And that is going to form an opposition with Pluto. So that's quite a heavy new moon energy that's taking place at that particular time. It's also getting trines from Saturn and trine aspects from Saturn and Neptune, but significantly that energy of the opposition with Pluto means that the 24th is a very, very key date moving things forward. And actually I would expect some kind of major changes to take place from a political basis at that time. Those are the sort of what I'd say the key dates. But July is a kind of a really funny one because of the Uranus shift. I think that brings about a whole different landscape and gives us a real kind of sense of where we're all kind of going. From the sort of chaos that we've experienced in June going into July, it really looks like we're going into this kind of new era, and suddenly things are moving a lot faster than we actually thought they would, particularly again economically, politically here. We've also, just to forget, on the 17th we've got Mercury will go retrograde. Yes, I'm afraid so. That will be in Leo at about 15 degrees it starts, and that will be retrograde until the middle of August. So again, Mercury causing a few kind of issues or slowing things down here for a lot of people, particularly I have to say in the USA, the USA president, who is of course a Gemini, but Leo rising, so that's going to affect that particular person quite significantly at that time. And really it brings about a little bit of confusion in terms of direction for that particular person to look out for. But it's one of those months where I feel like suddenly there might be a lot of us kind of really appreciating that the things seem a bit smoother, a little bit easier than they have. And I think that is the case there. But I also think that it's like the hangover from June, and how that's going to translate from a practical point of view going forward politically and economically. It's a real kind of challenge, and I can't emphasize the Uranus, Gemini, because and the reason why is because, Uranus is a very external planet. When we look at like Neptune, Pluto, the two other outer planets, they tend to be a bit more subtle in their energy. But when we look at Uranus, it tends to be external events, things happening on the outside. So when we have the shift of it going from one zodiac sign to another, you will start to actually see that things externalize themselves really, really quickly. And this happens on an individual, the clients that I see, that, Uranus transits tend to be very much, right on the day and very externalized. And so that's the same when we're talking about mundane astrology or political astrology. It's very much about it's externalized itself. Okay, let's get to the next section here, which is going to be for the sun signs, rising signs. So if you know your sun sign, which most people do, then listen to your sun sign. But if you know your rising sign or ascendant, then listen to that as well. And it's good for like family, friends, partners, stuff like that, to listen to those as well. Okay, so let's start off with Aries sun sign and Aries rising. Okay, the first thing that really shapes this is the fact that the planet Mars, your ruler, is now in Virgo, and went into Virgo in the middle, around about the 16th of June, and it starts off about 8 degrees in Virgo, and this affects your sixth house, sixth solar house. Mars traditionally is in its joy in the sixth house, so it can actually function really kind of well, and that means that you're focusing suddenly on maybe health matters and being at service to other people, and the more mundane aspects. You can get a lot done, Aries, for yourself this month with Mars being in the sixth house. The other thing is these planets that you've got of Neptune and Saturn are both going retrograde in your own sign. And there is a difficulty there, because I think Aries, particularly those Aries born, you know, around about the spring equinox of 21st of March, 22nd, 23rd, have been really kind of affected by this energy of Neptune and Saturn suddenly, you know, traveling in their own sign and making conjunctions to the sun. And now it's going retrograde. So it kind of gives you a little bit of break. And both those planets are going to go back into the previous sign, which of course is Pisces, as we go throughout the summer. So that it may just settle down for a lot of early degree Aries that starts to take place. And that may kind of help the situation. The other major thing is that you've got Jupiter now in your solar fourth house, which really kind of deals with the home, family, ancestral aspects, but also property. And it may well be that you're looking to expand the home environment, or looking at different ways of working from the home basis, or even just, you know, restructuring the home. Certainly Jupiter tends to give a kind of a restless energy. And, you know, Aries as a zodiac sign tends to be, or ascendant tends to be a bit restless on energy. So for a lot of you, this could be quite a busy month ahead, and a lot actually taking place and going quite nicely for you. So yeah, just to be aware of that. On the 11th, we have full moon on the 10th house. So around about the 10th, 11th, 12th, look out for situations to do with working matters coming to a close, or decisions being made by yourself regarding your career path that needed to be made over the last 6 months. Okay, Taurus sun and Taurus rising. Well, listen, Taurians, look, 7th of July, Uranus leaves your sign. It does go back in later in the year, back into Taurus, but it's a bit of a celebratory. Most Taurians have seemed to have found the whole Uranus 6.5 years quite a difficult experience. Not surprising if you think that Uranus brings chaos, liberation, but a sense of being on a roller coaster, and Taurians are not a zodiac sign that particularly likes that. So it's been quite challenging. What I would like Taurians to do, though, this month is to reflect where they've come from at the beginning of where they were at 2018 to where they are now. I think if you reflect, a lot of you Taurians, you'll get a sense of, as an individual, probably quite much more liberated within yourself, and able to express yourself better, and able to feel a little bit more freed up, and perhaps really kind of come away from a lot of the restrictions that you kind of imposed on yourself. And there might be a bit of an attitude of, do you know what? I don't care as much. You know, I do what I do, and I don't care as much. And, you know, that's the Uranus factor. That's what it does. So a lot of Taurians will be going, oh, well, I'm really glad that Uranus is moving out. But actually, the fact is, reflect on what the changes have come about here. I think you'll find, actually, it's had a massive impact on you guys. And I think that you'll appreciate it much more. Because as Uranus goes to Gemini, and I'll just talk about how that's going to affect you guys, I think you know, start to see how much of an impact it has made, and a positive impact, actually. Okay, maybe the last 6.5 years has been chaotic and surprising and unexpected, but you've got through it. You've done it. And unless you live another 84 years, you're not going to experience that again. So my kind of sensitive take on this for you Taurians is to reflect, meditate, and just get that kind of sense of, okay, what changes have taken place and where am I out now? Because I bet you'll go, everything went up in the air and you're still here. You're still yourself, but you're a bit different. And that, I think, is something to really sort of celebrate. Now, as Uranus goes into Gemini, particularly, I have to say, for you Taurian ascendants, Taurian rising signs, the way that you make money and how you value yourself in making money is going to completely change to such a degree that you could have two incomes, multiple incomes, or your relationship with money is going to be totally different. And I feel like that's where the disruption, the liberation, the chaos, the roller coaster is really going to come in. That could be quite exciting for Taurians who are, let's say, can be quite money based, if not careful. So this is a big kind of month of a shift, but also a lot to do with reflecting. Okay, Gemini sun signs, Gemini rising, really kind of interesting. Listen, you guys, it's a wild month coming up for you. First of all, on the 7th, you've got Uranus entering into your own zodiac sign for the first time in 84 years. Next, you've got a Mercury retrograde to contend with, and that's going to be affecting your 3rd house, which is the house of communication in the middle, from the middle of the month, from about the 17th. I can't stress how, you know, how busy this is. From the 5th, you've got Venus, the planet of relationships, entering into your own zodiac sign. I mean, it's all happening for Geminis. This is going to be one busy month, and a lot is expected from you. You just got to look out for that Mercury retrograde. But the Uranus factor is definitely going to feel like a bolt of lightning has suddenly hit you, and you've got loads of these ideas and loads of things that you want to do, and you know your mind's going here, there, and everywhere. It's really important to remain really grounded in this particular area of when Uranus is transiting through your own sign. What July gives you is a basis of what's coming. It's like a little bit of an idea of what to expect from this combination, because Uranus and Gemini is going to be there for the next 7 years. You know, I have to put the caveat, it does go back into Taurus later in the year, but you know, this is a real kind of understanding of what's going to come from this. So just to be really kind of clear about that, really busy month for you. Lots of activity. You know, Jupiter now is traveling in your 2nd house, so there's lots of plans about financial aspects coming in. And you've really got to check the details within your finances or how you make your money, particularly this month. It could be one of those crazy months where you just do a lot, but it has to have tangible results. It has to have substance to it. And if it doesn't, and you're just scattered, then you're not going to benefit from it. That jolt of Uranus is going to give you a kind of sense of excitement, but also it's going to make you sometimes a little bit like your finger in too many pies, I think is the saying. Okay. Cancer sun sign, Cancer rising. Look at around the 11th, you got the full moon in your opposite sign of Capricorn. That's based on the relationship area of your life and how other people see you and how other people respond to you. That's something that you're going to have to work through and be attentive to other people's needs. Jupiter is now firmly traveling in your own zodiac sign. If you're an early degree Cancer, you're sort of, you know, born around the sort of 21st, 22nd, 23rd of June. It's a little bit of a difficult time at the moment because you've got squaring your sun, you've got Saturn and Neptune, you've got Uranus conjunct to your sun. So you guys are having a bit of a kind of like here, there and everywhere and don't know really what to do. Allow things to kind of play out a little bit here. It's going to be kind of important. On the 24th, there's a new moon hitting your 2nd house. More importantly, it's a full moon that's going to be opposed by the planet Pluto. So it's quite intense in regard to financial situations at that time and important decisions being made around that time. And what I would say is don't get into any power battles if you can ignore it, because sometimes you can't and you're just in it. But that's quite a significant time period for you. Okay, Leos. Leo sun sign, Leo rising. Look, again, this is really kind of important. It's that 24th of July, we've got a new moon at Leo at 2 degrees in Leo, and it's directly opposite a retrograde Pluto. And that's affecting the house of you, the 1st house, and the 7th house, the house of other people. So if you feel like you're getting pulled into directions that you don't want to go, put your boundaries down, put your structure down. This is quite an intense particular period, around about the 23rd, 24th, 25th of July. Barring that, of course, the 7th, we've got Uranus going into Gemini. That does liven things up in your friendship area. You're going to be connecting with a lot more different people coming up for you, and want to be involved in groups and societies. And I've done a separate video about how it's going to affect you, this Uranus energy. You know, Mars is now not in your sign, zodiac sign, and that's, you know, significant. But it is now in your second house, so it's about how you earn your money for July. You know, if you're looking for work or trying to gain promotion, be assertive, but not too assertive. You know, it's a balancing act here that's going to take place around you. But, you know, the focus is on how do I make money, how do I get more money, and how do I value myself with my money, and how do I look after my body as well. You know, this is like the fitness regime, or getting into the gym and really concentrating on that. Mars needs to go somewhere. It's one of those planets that their energy needs to go somewhere. Because it's in Virgo, Virgo is a very analytical zodiac sign, and it's an earth sign. It's ruled by Mercury. And therefore, it can be a little bit challenging because it can overanalyze. So it needs a physical outlet. The other major thing is that Mercury from the 17th is going to be retrograde in your own sign. Bit challenging. Try and get everything done in the first 2 weeks of July rather than waiting, or get things moving. I just feel like Mercury retrogrades don't have to be dreadful at all, and it's in a fixed sign anyway of Leo, but it certainly means that things might be slowed down, or you're waiting for things to happen and they don't quite pan out the way that you expect it. Be patient. Okay, Virgo Sun, Virgo Rising. So your ruler, Mercury, is going to go retrograde from the 17th. It hits your 12th house, which is, you know, the house of the unconscious, the house between two worlds, the house of, you know, dreams and stuff like that. It's also known as the house of self-undoing. And that means that you can cause a lot of your problems by overthinking things. Listen to your dreams during this particular period. The Uranus going into Gemini on the 7th really livens up your career path a lot with new, exciting ideas that is going to really kind of stimulate you, particularly over the next six to 7 years. It's a significant jolt, and it may be just in July is like just new ideas start to come into play. What you will want out of your career is freedom. And you will want that freedom to be the top of what you do in your career. That will be the top of the list. So you'll be thinking, how do I get that? How do I get that freedom? I want to be on the move, is what a lot of Virgos will be saying. Mars is transiting your own zodiac sign here, so there's a lot of energy that you can complete in July, and a lot of significant things can happen. Try not to be too impatient with people, and try not to be too critical with yourself or other people. There is a tendency during when Mars is to be a little bit spiky and, you know, project it onto other people or project it onto yourself, depending on what kind of Virgo you are. Okay, Libra sun sign, Libra rising. The first thing is on the, right about the 5th, Venus, your ruler, goes into Gemini. That's nice because it's in a fellow air sign like yourself. And therefore, you can actually kind of feel like the aspect of culture and art and harmony and diplomacy and just your natural charm can kind of come out. And it's in the 5th house, which is the house of enjoyment. So that kind of really helps. Sorry, it's in the 9th house. House of enjoyment, of travel and engaging in that kind of aspects. Now, the other thing is that in your opposite sign of Aries, which is your 7th solar house, you've got Saturn and Neptune going retrograde this month. So things might be taking a little bit of a backseat with other people, and you may feel a little bit at ease because June was quite a difficult month in a lot of ways for you, and suddenly you might kind of feel like, okay, the pressure's off me a little bit, and that helps to move things forward an awful lot. My kind of sense here is because of the Venus in the ninth house, it means that you can think quite big about things and be a bit more open to change and be a bit more excited by the changes that are coming in, particularly in the education or retraining aspect. Things just start to kind of fall into place a lot better than they have been for you, which helps. Obviously, the other thing is that Uranus going into Gemini in the 7th also helps that side of things. And I think that for most of you, you'll just feel a little less heavy and worried about things or how other people think about you than you have been with Uranus traveling in your 8th house for the last 6.5 years. There is a freshness and openness, you know, that's taking place. And particularly, I have to say, around about that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, what Uranus is doing is making a conjunction with Venus that gives you a kind of a real energy of sparkling innovation and creativity. Okay, Scorpio sun sign, Scorpio rising. Right, interesting with you guys. 7th Uranus, it's left your 7th house. It does go back in there later in the year, but it's left, which means that the idea of how you deal with people and how people respond to you is changing. You've had a crazy 6.5 years where other people have come into your life and disrupted you, and it's been chaotic in partnerships, and it will feel weird that the Uranus is suddenly transiting now in your 8th house. Well, I call the 8th house in astrology, I call it the therapeutic house, the house where we access the skeletons in our closet and look at them and go, hey, I don't mind these. You're able to face your fears coming up. You're able to get in touch with the deeper meaning and the deeper aspects of life, as long as you don't go too deep that you lose yourself in a labyrinth of your own making. But for a lot of Scorpios, this shift from the 7th to the 8th of Uranus going into Gemini is really going to help them actually deal with people and be able to communicate with people in a refreshing way without the projection of other people's chaos and unpredictability always getting in the way of your own movement and trying to go forward in life. Jupiter as well is really kind of helping you, which is great because it's in a water sign of Cancer like yourself. You've got Mars, interestingly. Mars is also kind of helping you being in Virgo in your 11th house. The only thing that I would be concerned about is Mercury, because Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 17th onwards in your career house, the 10th house, and that means that you expect delays, bit of misunderstandings, all things slowing down in career matters. Be patient, because from the middle of August, that begins to move forward, and that's when things really start to turn out for you in career matters. Okay, where are we? We're on Sagittarius sun sign, Sagittarius rising. Really interesting how you settled with Jupiter. How's that working out? Jupiter is now in the 8th house. Wanting to connect with others on a deeper level is certainly a big thing for Sagittarians now. But the big news, of course, is Uranus. And Uranus on the 7th goes into your 7th house. Okay, Saggies. If life's been a bit boring, or if you've not met interesting people, or if you're waiting for things to happen, then suddenly it's going to get very interesting for Saggies over the next 6.5, 7 years, to do with other people, to do with relationships, to do with business partnerships, to do with legal matters, to do with how you respond to other people and how other people view you. You see, Sagittarians are a freedomistic sign, and they like to connect to other people and give them the knowledge. But Uranus is suddenly going to make things very interesting, because the people that are going to come into your life, and some of them will stay for a long time, some of them won't, are going to make life very interesting for you. And therefore, I think that Sagittarians are dealing basically with a polarity point of Uranus, which is the journey for them is going to be a lot to do with facing some of the more shadowy aspects of their own personality through engagement with other people. Sounds interesting? Well, it is for Sagittarius, so good luck. Okay, Capricorns. Capricorn sun signs, Capricorn rising. Middle of the month, well, you've got, first of all, you've got a full moon around about the 11th in your own sign. Not too concerned about that. But I think your ruler, Saturn, is going to go retrograde in the second half of the month in Aries. And that rules the family, home environment. So expect things to become a little bit more complicated in that area for you. Whenever Saturn goes retrograde, it slows things down, being one of the slow moving planets from that we can see in the naked eye, before we discovered Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. But like, I feel like for Capricorns, it's that full moon that they're kind of working with. And the thing about it for a lot of you is you're feeling the dynamic quality of Neptune and the dynamic quality of Saturn being coming in from your solar fourth house. You're starting to feel that, Capricorns. And that's an energy that you're still trying to settle with and work with and see how you can really kind of put that into action and make it something that's tangible for you. Now, if we look at the Uranus transit going into Gemini from the 7th, that's fascinating, because for you guys, it's going to really kind of enliven your working environment and the way that you look after yourself, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And that may mean that you're looking at different unusual ways of doing that, or starting to think about that. And I feel like this July is going to be a kind of a month where you're setting intentions for the future quite a lot, manifestation intentions, what you want out of your work environment, what you want out of your day-to-day life. And that aspect is going to be suddenly changing quite a bit. Okay, Aquarius sun, Aquarius rising. You guys are going to be really pleased with the Gemini Uranus combination from the 7th, because it's in an air sign like yourself, and it hits your 5th house, which is the house of self-expression, the house of creativity, and it's going to be there pretty much for a sort of 6-7 year period. So suddenly you're a bit freed up to be able to express yourself in a much more authentic way that you feel is going to generate opportunities for you and connect with people that are going to help you to express yourself in a much more different way to how you've done it. You feel, I think a lot of Aquarians have felt a bit restricted, particularly with the Uranus in Taurus. So that's going to kind of help. It is a month where the 24th looms large for you with a new moon in your opposite sign, and that new moon is opposite Pluto, which is in your own sign. Don't allow others to take advantage of you, and be really specific in what you want and stand your ground. Pluto is kind of getting a lot of Aquarians to actually, you know, be really boundary driven, you know. And although Aquarians will tend to, most of them, Aquarians or Aquarius rising, will tend to just do what they want, they will quietly do it. But Pluto's not asking you to do that anymore. It's actually is asking you to tell people what your boundaries are and what you will do and what you won't do. And Aquarians will find this a little bit different and difficult, because they're not a sign that is a sign that likes to bring in conflict with other people, unless it's fighting for a cause or fighting for someone else. When it's to do with themselves, they tend to just sort of ignore and just sort of slip away. But now Pluto is going, stand in your own power, face your fears, tell people what you want, give them the boundaries, so they know where they stand and you know where you stand. So that full moon on the 24th is going to be all about that. Okay, Pisces, rising, Pisces, sun sign. All right, well, kind of interesting. So the first thing is, what's going to happen with the Uranus going into Gemini for you? Well, that's actually affecting your 4th house, which is the house of the home environment. And this is going to be over a sort of 7-year cycle, but this is the briefing. If you are wanting to move or you want to do things differently in your home environment, then the next 6 or 7 years is going to bring out a lot of changes in that way. And I think for a lot of you, you'll be quite excited by that, because it means that you can turn your dreams into reality. And that being quite a significant aspect, things are going to change. The roots and the security of where you gain your security is usually going to change, and that's part of the whole Uranus energy that's coming towards you. For July, it's a real case of, you know, having the assertiveness and the directness to put it into the right projects. And the reason I say that is because your opposing sign is Virgo, and you've got Mars traveling in Virgo. So when you've got an opposition, you've got a polarity point, and that polarity point really means that it's something you have to face, which is try to be assertive with yourself, not assertive of other people. Try to complete projects yourself, not expecting other people to complete those projects. Don't be too critical of yourself or too critical of other people. With Mars in there, you can kind of throw things out a little bit and go, well, you know, you should have done this, or you should have done that, or I should have done this, should have. Listen, it's about getting things done, July is going to be, without complaint, without projection. If you do that, then you can complete an awful lot and get things done. If you don't, and you kind of throw it out to other people or blame yourself too much, then you'll get nothing done, and you will pay the price for that come August, because that's when things are going to pile up and get quite busy for you, and you won't have time to go back onto projects that you needed to. So be aware of that. You're dealing with a very Mars energy for you, Pisces, in July, and you've got to really center yourself, ground yourself, and get on with it. That's going to be really important. Okay, there you go, your July forecast. Subscribe, like the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon.